you the news. All right, hey everybody, welcome to Navel Gazing Valley Indy podcast. My name is Eugene Driscoll. I'm the editor and reporter of valleyindy.org, a nonprofit online newspaper covering Ansonia, Seymour, and what's the other one? Derby. I tried to combine them. No, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. Also, we're apparently too lazy. And we're bad. We're bad faith reporting. Whenever somebody challenges my integrity,
I qualified those statements, but then somebody kicked it up a notch, and then I responded in kind. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Gee.
Okay, what? Just say your first and last name for me.
Sure. So my name is Santiago Achinelli, but my friends call me Santi.
Santi. And can I ask you what community you live in?
Sure. So right now I live in Boston as of the last 3 months. We just moved up here. Also, 4 months now. And got married too.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. But, my family's originally from Argentina, and we came up to the United States, and I basically grew up between Ansonia and New Haven. Family home is still in Ansonia.
Okay, so you have the Valley route, just to localize it. I'm not trying to peer into your private life.
No.
But
it's
yeah.
weird.
No, it's not weird. It's fine. I was just asking. Usually people just say whatever town, but a little more is fine too.
Yeah.
All right. So Santi and I were just getting into an argument online. I wrote a story yesterday. I published it last night about a lawsuit that was filed. Resident sues to force public hearing on Ansonia land sale. I have been criticized by people who support the plaintiffs in this lawsuit. I have been criticized by people who support the city, who are the defendants in this case, which tells me I'm doing a hell of a good job if everybody's angry.
Yeah.
But, all right, so Santi, your problem with me is that you felt that I didn't give enough time to the resident who filed the lawsuit, nor his attorney who wrote the lawsuit.
Right. So actually, let's pull up the thing. Let's Joe Rogan this. Let's pull up.
Oh boy, I wish. We have the same audience.
God, I hope not.
In size, in voluminous.
I don't think there's that many people that live.
All right, I'll read it. I found it. You said, and I quote, "I would like to know." I'm emphasizing this. I'm picturing you angry. Like, it's much different to see you on a screen. But anyway, I would like to know how long McGowan and Egan had to comment, since this article says reached out on Tuesday, and that was yesterday. That's usually considered a pretty bad faith journal move.
Yeah. Also, I moved my comment accidentally. My next subsequent comment was under my main one and not under the one that, I mean, you probably got that I was responding to that one, but yeah. So you correct me where I'm wrong. I'm guesstimating the timeline based on now available information.
Okay, I would start off, you're wrong saying it's a pretty bad faith journal move. That would move.
No, I have questions. So,
well, I would ask, why would you start off like, I don't know you, you don't know me. Well, I live in Derby here. Well, my question, though, is why does it always go, and I don't care what the political party is, on the local level, it always goes to an attack on the integrity of the writer in 2022 America. No matter what, it always goes right to bad faith journal move.
That's usually considered a pretty bad faith journalistic move. And the fact of the matter is, if we look at the article, you're working with what you got. I'll give you,
the what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said you're working with what you have available to you. If people don't respond, they don't respond, and that's on them.
But it's not that simple, though. You're working with a primary source document, a lawsuit that was authored by the people you think I would argue with. It's a lawsuit. I didn't actually have to call them up. It's a public document filed in a court of law.
Absolutely, but if we read the article, we see. I didn't count them, but. On the side of say the current administration in town, we see, Marine. We see one mention of McGowan and Egan at the beginning. Neither answered questions emailed to them by the Valley Indy on Tuesday, and then afterwards we see, the rest of the article is John Marini this, Sean O'Malley that, Marini this. Cassetti's administration will ignore that. Marini.
But I have to disagree right then and there, because you're treating.
I'm just reading.
But you're treating McGowan and the attorney as if they didn't write the lawsuit. Is that not their words? Is that not their side?
But you took comment on like there's a couple of different things that I find kind of problematic with this. The first is, they filed a lawsuit and you should report on it. And look, you probably don't remember, but about 15 years ago, I went to your offices as a pimply-faced teenager, and I was so excited to get to see oh, hey, look, actual journalism going on in town. These are the things. Even then, as a young punk, these are things that should happen. These are things that got kind of liquidated away to the sort of accidents and deliberations of history, but that matter. And so it's important that you're reporting on this. It's just super germane to anybody who lives in town, anybody who cares about Ansonia. But also, you could have waited more than 10 hours. I mean, Marini and O'Malley both work at Town Hall. You could cross the street, you know where they are. They're on their email.
No, I don't have the office in Ansonia anymore.
Oh, you don't? Oh.
No, a couple of years.
Well, they're on their email all day. You've got to, let's just say that if we look through comments, I know that the McGowan has been in a couple of articles and is pretty active in the chat section of a lot of articles on the Indy. But, we're not talking about, if it had been me, I would have waited at least 24 hours.
For a lawsuit that was filed a month ago. It's been a public record for a month. It was on the agenda. It was on the agenda. It was on the agenda of a public meeting that very night.
When did you contact McGowan for comment?
I contacted his lawyer at 7:54 a.m. I can't go into a whole, there was a back and forth.
Roughly.
I would have to look up his email. Then my second email went out
math, and it was what, 11 hours difference
to at 1 o'clock. So I sent out emails at before 8 a.m. and at 1 o'clock. And I'll argue with you, this is a lawsuit. Their side has been stated in that document. That's the purpose of a lawsuit.
You're right, but we're not talking about the lawsuit. We're talking about the article that was written about the lawsuit.
But the law, you're failing to recognize, or maybe this is just an impasse, but that is their side. That is their comment, their lawsuit. I went above and beyond because I had questions about the lawsuit, and I wanted them to react to what the two people from City Hall said. And they had that opportunity. Yeah, and I would say, the other thing is, if I live my life or work this job around, I can only publish an article on the source's timeline.
Well, no.
A lot of people never return phone calls. They just won't do it. And I think it's standard practice. I've been a reporter now since 1998, and I just find that you called me a lazy reporter just on the basis of lazy reporting. In that I'm the reporter. The reporting is mine.
Exactly. Did I call you a lazy reporter, or what did I say? Exactly?
You said it was in bad faith, which is I adhere to the Society of Professional Journalists ethical standard. It's hanging in my office.
Bad faith.
And then you said that it was lazy reporting. Now, first of all, just the fact, hey, I don't know how many hours you work, but if I'm up before 8 a.m. Working on this article and I file it at 20 to 7, and then there's a meeting at 7 o'clock, I'm not sure that that's lazy. But second of all, I've been a reporter since 1998. I have never, this is the first time I've heard somebody say that's not an acceptable time, more than a work day, to respond to an article, to a lawsuit that was filed a month ago. You got to know this is coming up.
So sorry, just to clarify, because in the comments you mentioned that you had sent the first email and there was some back and forth. But we'll be generous about it. It started at about 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. The article was published around 7 p.m. the same day. So that's less than 12 hours, even if we cut it very generous.
What's this arbitrary? Yeah, it's a work day. It's more than 8 hours. My point is, I interview people every day. Either they get back to you or you don't. I said in my email today, I am working on this article. today. It was listed on the Board of Aldermen meeting for that night.
Right.
Meaning it could be discussed right there and then.
Everybody has their own sort of set of standards on what they consider to be, ethical behavior or not. And I'm not here to.
No, everybody does not have their own set of standards. It's written down in the SBJ Code of Ethics.
Sure.
I don't go by your standard.
I hope not. Well, clearly not. But what I'm seeing here is.
Because your standard, you're saying to me, is on a routine article, wait until you have like a green light from somebody.
You're the one, like, if there was some sort of competitive advantage to publishing faster on this specific thing than any.
There was nothing fast about almost however many hours it was. There's nothing fast about that article at all.
Well, then in that case, what would be the harm in like giving more than like half a day to respond for somebody who perhaps is not necessarily in front of their computers 24/7?
So you're saying 12, but you don't know what back and forth I had though. That is not accurate. That is not accurate. There was a back and forth. My questions were not answered.
Okay. When did the back and forth start? And are we talking about Eugene or?
I can't go into that. That would be betraying their confidence.
Telling me when you started corresponding with them?
And who it was and what was. All I can tell you is you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Okay, this is a normal article. You did their comments were not only did I reach out for their comments are in the article in the form of a lawsuit. You have to swear that the statements in the lawsuit are true.
Right. So you present the document that is the lawsuit, but the comments on the lawsuit.
I got reaction from the defense.
Right.
And I asked the plaintiffs to talk to me more.
Sure. And the article itself, although the lawsuit is linked at the very bottom, the article itself only makes reference to it. Does not necessarily quote extensively, at least definitely not to the same amount that Marini and O'Malley are quoted in the article.
Is that my fault? The lawsuit is 5 pages. Look, I can read it to you. And the beginning, the first page is, that is just an absurd statement. You can't measure, you can't measure who responded, and they were given the chance to respond. I took Marini's comments and I sent them to them.
Well, look, a second ago you were telling me about how, it started at 6, actually in the Facebook comments, I don't know if they're still up, but in the Facebook comments, you're like, I started talking to them in the morning, and then
7:54 a.m.
7:54 a.m., which a second after that, you told me you couldn't tell me when you started talking with them back.
No, you asked me no, you're wrong again. No, you're wrong. That's not what I said. You asked me who I was corresponding to, and you wanted a whole timeline, and that's betraying my sources. Ask them.
You were corresponding with, you clearly attempted to correspond with Egan and McGowan, right?
Right.
That's available. All that I was asking was,
right. So what's the appropriate time? You're saying that articles can't get written until some arbitrary time, even though for 20 years this has been. I'm in a daily reporter. I told them I'm writing it today, right. But I have to. But the whole point of news. I'm not a PR agency. It's not I can't work around somebody else's schedule. This is the story I'm writing.
The two sort of core tenets of what I'm saying are fairly simple. This piece is not balanced. And
how is it not balanced?
Well,
how is it not balanced?
There's two parts to this.
Because balanced isn't just because you read something you don't agree with isn't a reflection of balance.
Well, I think we could,
if you don't like John Marini or the city's position here, that is not my fault.
What I don't like personally is when the things are reported at an extremely specific slant. Especially if you're the only game in town, that's
what's slant. That now you're just throwing out buzzword 2022 attack the media buzzwords. That is BS, my friend.
Yeah,
What slant is that? Did you not just use the word slant? I don't like slant. Right, I'm biased. No, right.
I have a bias. Everybody has a bias. I'm just saying that this article, quantitatively, if we go line by line, very clearly has a certain slant. Now,
according to you, who clearly doesn't know what he's talking about.
Very clear. Well, that's not very nice of you, and I could say the same.
But at the end of the day, it's the truth.
No, because if you read the article, and I think where the core disagreement happens to be here.
So you're saying a 5-page, I embedded the entire lawsuit.
At the end,
wait.
described PDF.
What?
Not in the article itself.
You want it cut. So in your journalism school, professor, it's not, so bias is embedding it so people can read it untouched. You want me to copy and paste it and put it in the article, and that's ridiculous.
And you're going to claim that that the lawsuit is tantamount to the to like quote it. Like the lawsuit is one item, and you're getting people's reactions to the lawsuit, and you're getting exclusively the administration's reaction.
Because now, why is that? So you're saying I set out purposely to get there, to only get the administration's reaction?
You know, I prefer not to argue from bad faith, but you know, like if you read this thing, it's like very clearly like, okay, well, if you only give 12 hours to people and there's
only 12 hours.
Yes, people have other things to do in their lives that isn't just respond to journals, and it is considered the right of reply, right? Like if you call somebody up a minute before your deadline, the problem there isn't the person not being able to give you a concrete answer.
Was this a minute before my deadline, sir?
No, this was like.
Was it even close?
But could you imagine like what it would be like if just, I mean, that's basically what the Gish Gallop, but the journalistic version of the Gish Gallop. It's lazy, and quite frankly, we could do better.
This lawsuit was filed a month ago.
Right.
A month ago. It's not a surprise. So it's not a surprise, and it was posted. It ties into it, sir, because you're arguing in bad faith. You're saying what I'm telling you is that this lawsuit was filed 1 month ago. The people who filed the lawsuit knew it was filed. The people who filed the lawsuit knew it was listed on the agenda of a Board of Aldermen meeting that night. It was on there. And it was posted publicly on the City of Ansonia website at least by last Thursday or Friday as part of the agenda packet. Okay. So the day of the meeting, I call up and I say, I'm writing a story today on this issue.
Right.
Then that's not enough time. At 7:54 in the morning, like there's this whole. I can tell you. Here's what bothers me. Have you ever written a news story? I mean, are you a beat reporter?
I am not a beat reporter, but at the same time, like
how is 12 hours not enough time? I would just love to know that.
Because it's clearly insufficient.
And why couldn't some? I mean, there was a back and forth. Why wouldn't the answer be from the source? Why is it from Santi telling me it's not enough time, not the source?
Well, that's Santi's opinion, not
exactly. This is all your opinion, sir.
Oh, that's okay. I don't see what. I mean, I thought that was sort of the point. No, like I'm presenting my opinion.
I'm telling you that I operated in a totally professional and routine manner. And the sources were given more than enough time to comment. They could still call me up. Why didn't they just call me up at 7 o'clock? Call me up. Why didn't they call me at 8 o'clock? Call me up. 9 o'clock. Call me up. I could have written a follow-up article. I've done that hundreds of times.
I think you should. I think that's a good idea. I hope that they get back to you, and that there can be some additional publications on this.
Now, what if they don't call me back? That's on me?
No, that's on them. Absolutely not.
So right now it is, what time is it right now? 7:38. So this would have been, I should have held the articles right now.
So the part that is extremely debatable and absolutely hyper opinionated is how long is a reasonable amount of time, right? That I will not debate you on because we're going to.
But I'll tell you though, this was a completely reasonable amount of time.
Well, I disagree on that point,
but that's only you. I've been doing this since 1998 and I do it every single day. I've never heard such an asinine statement saying, well, that's not a reasonable amount of time. Just because you think so, it's your opinion. It doesn't make it fact.
Okay, well, so 2 points on that. 3 points on that. I just told you it was my opinion. I don't think opinions are by definition not facts. Second off, I don't believe that's the most asinine statement that you've ever heard because you work with Town Hall. You report on Town Hall, and you've been doing it for 20 years. And between Della Volpe and the new guy, I'm sure there's plenty more asinine statements to think of.
I will tell you that the vast majority of attorneys that I've spoken to since 1998 about lawsuits, you know what they say?
What do they say?
No comment pending litigation.
Right. Okay.
I was under no obligation to reach out to either Matt or the attorney for this article. They had a lawsuit filed, and I did. I wanted to check my facts with them, and I wanted them to respond.
I mean, like there's the minimum amount of reporting you need to do, and then there's like what makes an article good.
And I think that would include reaching out to the people.
Yes. No, absolutely. I don't disagree that
holding it for some indiscernible amount of time doesn't make the article better.
It's just debatable. And it's the sort of thing that, look, I don't think we're ever going to see eye to eye on the idea that.
Like, do you know how many people in the course of my daily reporting, they don't want to talk about something, and so they try to hold the information, they try to change the narrative, they won't answer you
Probably
all the time, or they ask that your questions be put in email instead of having a direct conversation with you.
I get that, depending on the thing, but I see what you're saying. There's people that just want to be obstructionists. They don't want something to go out and tell you, oh, hey, actually, can I?
Well, there's big changes coming. Oh, you should have called me because there's big changes coming. Oh, because, that happens all the time. What also happens is sometimes you get the other side, right? You get in a lawsuit like this, you get the other side who hasn't filed anything in court, and then you bring it back to the side who has filed the lawsuit, and suddenly, well, you've given them a legal strategy. Suddenly, oh, wait, that changes everything, and I can't wait for that. You say at the beginning of the day, here's the story I'm working on today.
Sure. Yeah, I mean...
You contact them again. Here's the story I'm working on today. You contact them again. Here's the story I'm working on today.
Well,
at some point, you write the story.
Was that what happened with...
that happens in general. Well, and I will tell you, I stand behind my reporting on this 100%. The procedure... I do not have to. I don't know if the Valley Indy is going to be around in January. The chances of it being around for another year are like probably 5%, but I don't think it's right. I'm not going to be intact for my integrity like this and play games like this. No, I'm going to tell you straight up, they had plenty of time and it was a normal routine article.
By plenty of time, but see, we disagree on the start, on when the start button actually starts, because you keep saying they filed it a month ago, and that's kind of when all of this starts for them to comment to me.
No, I'm just saying you were ignorant of that.
Yeah, that's true.
If you file a lawsuit, and this is just me speaking from experience that you do not have, and I don't mean to be a condescending jerk, but it's a public sphere. Courts are public documents. You got to be high on crack if you're filing a lawsuit against a city, especially in this case. This isn't like, oh, I hit a pothole and I broke my tire and I have a claim. It's a major lawsuit.
Yeah, as it should be. I mean,
so my point is, you're going to be expecting, if you have any inclination, and I know some people are new with dealing with the media, but you've got to have in the back of your mind that, oh, a reporter could ask about this public document, especially once it's completely open and on an agenda. The city's conducting the public business, and they put this on here. So that's why I'm not saying I have not changed. Like, that's another thing. I have not changed the start clock. I'm just stating fact.
Right. But,
and the facts are the facts. You can say like, oh, what you're saying it started then. That's not what I said.
Okay. Well, the scope of what I'm just going to talk about what I'm talking about, because then maybe we'll be able to build something here. But the scope of what I'm referring to is just the article as it is written. I don't consider the article the lawsuit appended at the end of it to necessarily be, it's not like you wrote the lawsuit, right? So the article, it was published yesterday at approximately 7:30 p.m. As opposed to the lawsuit, which went out about a month ago. So in reference to just the article,
the first 8 paragraphs of the article are directly from the lawsuit. A resident has filed a lawsuit. Specifically, the lawsuit it only alleges 2 things. I mean, I guess I could sweeten it and try to fluff it, but it says 2 things. Yeah. The lawsuit alleges the city has no record of the city advertising, whether officials were accepting bids. And then I say the lawsuit's embedded at the bottom of this story. I say who filed the lawsuit. So, I mean,
sure.
Here it is again. The lawsuit requests the court intervene. This is all from the lawsuit. So the lawsuit wasn't just published at the bottom as like an afterthought. The top half of the story is from the lawsuit.
The top fifth of the story. not to get too technical on
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Is it? Because it's not the top half of the story.
Right. Well, you're taking a measurement. Oh, it's the top fifth of the story. You just told me I put the lawsuit in as an afterthought, and I'm telling you it's the first 8 paragraphs of the story.
The lawsuit, the document of the lawsuit. Maybe there's some lack of clarity there. I don't know. But the document of the lawsuit is appended at the end. Obviously, wrote this article yesterday, and in the article itself, not the body of the lawsuit, which you did not write. Because that would be a very interesting story, but alas, no. Most of the quotations, actually, in fact, all of the quotations are from either Marini or Malley. And
I'm looking at it right now, so I'm counting 8 paragraphs from the lawsuit. I'm seeing 6, 7, 8.
8 paragraphs from the lawsuit.
9.
What do you consider a paragraph?
10.
I'm just asking. Because the lawsuit also requested the city pay for the cost to file the lawsuit. It's not a paragraph. That's a sentence.
It's for the purpose of this. It's a paragraph because it's a narrow website. I mean, come on. That's just ridiculous. It's a paragraph.
I don't know what style guide you're using, but okay.
The Valley Indy style guide. What would you call it? What would you call it?
It's a single sentence.
So even though there are 8 references, or however Santi wants to define my work, there are 8 sentences at the beginning of this article, at the top of the article, that are right from the lawsuit. There are about 10 lines from Marini and O'Malley in there. So let's say it's 10 to 8, and that's just a quick thing. And then there is quick. The lawsuit itself is 2 lines, sir.
Let's do this a little bit more calmly. Let's just count the sentences for each side.
The actual lawsuit has 2 points in it. You've got to be kidding me.
It seems like
this is why it's important. If you're called up, if you want to get all this, you have to return a call. This is ridiculous.
It seems like we've moved from talking about the article itself to.
We're literally talking about the article.
Well, you were just talking about your grievances with the lawsuit only being 2 sentences long.
No, I'm responding to the fact you expect me to have. No, I'm not. It's a grievance. I'm responding to what you said, Santi. You keep complaining that these aren't paragraphs. These are single sentences. And I'm responding to that. The heart of a lawsuit is literally 2 lines in a 5-page document. And you're like, well, that should be expanded upon to a complete traditional 550-word paragraph that I see in a newspaper. That is insane.
I don't know what that's going to be there's a lot of run-on sentences in that 550-word paragraph. But when you say 8 paragraphs, it sounds like
I'm not gonna debate paragraphs. I'm not gonna do that.
Well, you just did, and then you were like, oh, and then just
right. I told you it's the Valley Indy style. I even told you we have a narrow website. If I string those sentences together to form your traditional view of a paragraph, it doesn't. It looks ridiculous on the site.
Sure, but when you mention them, I mean, you can justify them. Justify in the typesetting sense. You can justify them whichever way you need to make it look good on the website. I don't care. I'm just saying that
a resident has filed a lawsuit alleging the city's government did not follow its own rules regarding the potential sale of vacant land on Olson Drive to a private developer. That's from the lawsuit. I added the fact that it was a private developer. The lawsuit does not say that. Specifically, the lawsuit alleges the city did not hold a public hearing before deciding to sell the property. That's from the lawsuit. A violation of the section of the Ansonia City Charter detailing the rules for selling city property, from the lawsuit. In addition, the lawsuit alleges the city has no record of the city advertising whether officials were accepting bids for the Olson Drive property, from the lawsuit. The lawsuit is embedded at the bottom of this story. The lawsuit was filed by Matt McGowan, active in the Democratic Party. He's represented by Tom Egan, a lawyer based in Ansonia. Neither answered emailed questions from the Valley Indy on Tuesday.
Right. Email questions sent on Tuesday and expected to be answered on the same day. Yes.
Which is the way a daily newspaper has worked for 100 years.
Let me ask you.
You may be ignorant of that. That doesn't make it wrong just because you don't know.
Every single story ever has always been nuts to bolts, started and finished within 12 hours.
A story like this, a story like this, absolutely.
Something that's already been published. Actually, your own argument kind of works against you, because if this has been out for a month and you're only going to give 12 hours for comment at either side, that seems a bit arbitrary. Like, you could easily give 24 hours of comment and not lose anything on readership.
And then it's on a public agenda.
Right.
it's included. The way it got public is that the fact it was listed by the city on a public agenda, and they were going to possibly discuss it at a public meeting. I could have ignored that. You're right. I could have just ignored that.
No, I don't think you should have, and I don't think you did, and those are both good things. But what you called. Oh, May 14th. Yes, no, that's different. No, what I'm referring to is that the period of time that you gave for comment on this article was about, what, 12 hours yesterday?
Which is completely routine and every day.
Well,
you get up in the morning, like, I mean, it's...
You're telling me that every single story you've ever published on the Valley Indy, you did all of the research and all of the calls the same day? You never did a call a week before or the day before at all?
I would say
That'd be ridiculous.
This story, no, actually, I mean, yes, most of the stories, it's a daily newspaper. That's how daily reporters work.
A daily newspaper has to crank stuff out on a daily basis, but that does not necessarily mean that every single story that was started that day has to then be concluded and sent out that day.
This story...
It's not my purview. Look, Gene, I don't want to...
Well, I would say that not your purview is probably the most sensible thing you've said in this discussion with you, because I'm telling you, and I'll tell you again, this article, spending the amount of time I spent on the article and reaching out to people for comment, this would happen again and again and again and again.
How long did you spend?
And then you say, it says, the lawsuit requests a court intervene to compel Ansonia to hold a public hearing on the Olson Drive property and the Ansonia property be put out to bid. That's from the lawsuit. The lawsuit also requests that the city pay for the costs to file the lawsuit. That's from the lawsuit. The lawsuit is dated May 18th. A court hearing has yet to be scheduled. From there,
not giving a proper amount of right of reply to the people who filed the lawsuit. Now, I don't know what's privileged and what you discussed, and if maybe somebody told you, hey, don't publish this because we're in the middle of a lawsuit. I'm saying that now because if it's the sort of thing that you can't say.
Right, you're making assumptions. You're making assumptions all over the place.
Well, at the same time, you're not really being forthright about...
Because I can't sit there and tell you, Santi, well, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. All I can tell you, and you can choose not to believe me based on I don't know what, you can say, oh, I guess he's just lying. But I can tell you from I'm the one who put the article together. There was more than enough time given. Okay. And the fact we're still having this conversation blows my mind. And I don't think when you argue with something, it is not fair to use terms right off the bat like lazy reporting and bad faith reporting. Those are attacks on integrity. You have no right to do that. You have no right to do that.
I think you as a journalist should defend people's rights to say what they think.
To attack a reporter.
Oh my goodness.
For their integrity based on nothing, based on assumptions.
Based on the information that was provided by the reporter in a public forum. Yeah, dude. Like if you can't
But you have in your head that it's not enough time. And even though you have a reporter here telling you it was enough time, it was totally normal, you're still saying, well, no, it wasn't enough time. You're a lazy reporter.
Well, I didn't call you a loser. I don't think you're a loser.
Lazy reporter.
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
My point is, I am a reporter and I'm for the First Amendment, but I don't think it's right to just, when you get into a forum on social media, the first thing you do is call names. That's a lack of character, and it's unfortunate, and it's part of the problem we have in the Naugatuck Valley, where people just get on, and the first thing they do is make an assumption and call people names. That's wrong.
Yeah, and if you
I support your right to do that, but I'm going to say, like, it's a lack of character. You should know better.
Yeah, and I think that...
and I've taken the time to explain to you now for an hour, here's what happened.
Well, actually, it's been about 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
It feels like 6 hours to me. This feels like much more than 30 minutes.
You asked for this, and I have a policy that if you ask for it, I'm going to give it to you. And at the end of the day, all that you've said is you've gone back and...
Wait a second. Hold on. Let me ask you about that policy now. Wait. About this policy. Is it a written policy, sir?
You know, like...
And can you define, give it to me? Can you define it, please?
Yeah, okay. It seems very... What's the word?
Is it an object? What is it?
I think it seems very disingenuous to just...
To call people names on social media without talking to them first?
Yeah, or, yell nonsense at them about crackheads and whatever. Like, it seems like your standard for journalism should be higher than it currently is, at least in relation to this specific article. That is my opinion. If you don't like it, I'm not surprised.
Where can you point to? Where can you point to though? On what experience? This is just you as a guy, just a random guy reading it.
Random guy reading this. Yes, anybody who can count could look at this article and very easily say, "Oh, look at all these quotes from all of these people who are definitely, on a certain part of the political spectrum." Or
so the answer would have been to delete those comments so I could measure an equal amount of lines.
Here is you gave a ridiculously short window of time to respond to this.
Ridiculously short. See, that is ridiculous. That on what do you base that on? What do you base that on?
Hours now talking about how moving the thing over and saying, "Oh, but this is published here. Oh, but I published it within the bottom of the article, so it counts like this, and I quoted this many."
Nope, you're not understanding. You're either not understanding or you're being disingenuous.
The paragraph is exactly one sentence long because that's the style of the website, and therefore when
you're just being Facebook now. You're just being disingenuous, sir. And this is what I thought it would come back to, based on what you said. But if you start off with calling names, this is what it comes down to.
Well, I didn't actually call you any names. You, as a reporter, should be able to quote people a little bit better than that. I said it was lazy reporting.
I should?
Yes, ought to.
Lazy reporting. Lazy reporting and bad faith. That's how you introduce the concept. You're not going to back off that, I understand.
Let's read them.
That's what Facebook trolls do.
Wrong, but let's read them. However, this is lazy reporting. Looking at it now. This is usually considered a pretty bad faith journal move.
No, it's not.
Well, sorry, that's what I said. I'm just quoting what I said. I'm not remaking the argument, but those are the things that I said, and you keep sort of slightly changing it so that I called you a lazy reporter. No, this is lazy reporting, and good reporters are capable of lazy reporting. But if you want to do the Facebook thing,
so I'm not allowed to react to that. I have to react to your comments in the way that you ascribe to me.
Well, I'm reacting to what you wrote, and in the nature of spirited public debate,
my article wasn't directed at you, sir. Your comments were directed at me.
It's generally considered an underhanded sort of debate technique to misquote your opponent and then start kind of using the sort of a pathos-based argument where you just sort of emotionally charge about why did you call me this and call me this other thing, and that's just poor debating skills.
But it's okay to debate on a subject you clearly know nothing about, to make assumptions about the time a person should have, even though the people in the story didn't complain, but you are.
See, that's the thing though. I'm questioning the reporting on this article, and you're taking it extremely personally, which is a quality that a reporter should, thicker skin is. I mean, you've been doing this since '98, right?
Right. And one thing that I've noticed that's happened, one thing I've noticed that happened is that with the advent of social media, you get people who just blurt things out, and it's usually an insult of some kind attacking a writer. I don't think that's right, and I will not stand for it. Now, if I don't have thin skin, and if I'm not allowed to respond to what were wrong statements that you made about the reporting, and then calling it lazy, I think why can't I do that? Because it comes down to, well, no, I can't talk, but you can.
You could also just throw Agent Orange at the windows and things, but that doesn't necessarily make it a particularly good argument or raise the public discourse in the town of Ansonia and environs.
So you think your comments on Facebook raise the level of discourse in the city of Ansonia?
I agree with you that it was a flippant comment that I made. I think the argument is sound, but yes, it was flippant.
The argument is not sound, sir. I'm just going to disagree with you there.
Yeah, well, I know that you disagree with me, Gene. I think we just spent the better part of an hour talking to each other about how much we disagree on this specific point. But I'm perfectly happy to defend the comment that I made, the content of the argument.
I would just say maybe start off.
Gene, let me say this.
Maybe start off in a more friendly way and be more civilized on social media. That would be my advice.
Well, hey, I mean, we could look at some. I mean, mine is.
I live in Derby. I'm here in the Valley.
Mine is hardly the most egregious. I don't think it's even in the top 5 on that particular thread. None from you, of course, except calling me drunk at one point. But we'll take that as a funny haha. right? And I threw the first stone. So, if I, to quote a great man, if you ask me for it, I have to give it to you, right? And that's kind of what you were doing, Gene. So, whatever. But yeah, I generally agree with the idea that like discourse is really poor, and I would add that
But here's my point though. Here's my frustration, Santi.
Let me finish complimenting you first.
Well, no, I just got to jump in because it's very frustrating. Because you write an article like this, you give everybody time to respond, and I'll say ample time to respond. In my experience, there was ample amount of time to comment on what is a pretty simple article. So I published it and I put it out there, and I guess my problem is you
give everybody the same amount of time, right?
I'm not listening to you. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I was talking. What did you say?
Just for the record, I suppose, you did give everybody who's quoted in the article the same amount of time to respond. Correct?
No, actually, that's not true.
Oh.
The administration probably had less time. I reached out to the plaintiffs first.
Huh. Yeah. Well, they're also sitting at their desk all day. I know for a fact that Mac McGowan is not doing an office gig where he can respond to emails necessarily at the exact moment that they get sent. But
I would, and then my argument, my counter to that would be the article is about a lawsuit. It comes back to his words, his attorney's words. That's their side. It's in court. I would argue with you. We're going around in circles, but I have written plenty of articles where I just use the source document of the lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's there. That's the public record.
That's true. It's my opinion.
I tried to do more with this one. I reached out and tried to do more, especially given the comments that were made by the defendants, but I didn't hear back.
Yeah. I will forever disagree with you on the length of time being an appropriate length of time. I personally don't care at this point because frankly, to go back and forth on something that you fundamentally disagree with, when there's much more interesting things to be talking about, is kind of an exercise. There's a saying in Spanish, which is there's a saying my great grandmother told my mother, and then she told to me, which is that, and you'll, in the age of social media and everything that you've said so far, I think you'll probably like this, but it's cuando le lavas la cabeza a un burro, perdes dos cosas, tiempo y jabón. And in English, that is, when you wash the head of a donkey, you lose two things: time and soap. And a lot of social media stuff ends up being like that. I think speaking only about me, to not disparage anyone any further, the comment was flippant. Like I said, and this is going around in circles, right? But I still maintain the position that is the core argument, but
But I guess my concern, and I just want to impart this on you though. If I adopted your philosophy, your editorial policy, I don't see how I would ever publish articles, because you're ceding editorial control over to sources, which is often public officials, and I don't think that's right.
This is why it's such a an impossible argument, because clearly you did not think that it was.
No, and I think I could probably. I mean, it was.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I think it was a completely normal and routine amount of time.
Yeah, and I disagree. And like I said, we're not gonna.
I mean, I guess the other thing is here's what how. I guess the other thing is, how many hours am I expected to work a day to get an article in there? That's just crazy.
I hear you, but look, it's like the 6 and the 9 thing, where you're standing there and you see this number, and I'm standing here and I see this other number. We're just not going to see eye to eye on that specific thing.
For hundreds of years we brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation. voice in my head. Public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. Our readers are in the opens each day. Online clickbait a prurient way. It's free information here to stay. Not even hookers give it away. Advertising, metastasizing, newsroom shrinking, constant attrition. We'll ride the dinosaur. We'll ride the dinosaur. Dinosaur. Deadlines, bylines, pictures too. An editorial comment for a buck or two. Fire down the block, the murder next door. And now we wonder what it's all for. Social media coming free to you, funny pages, the mayor's wages, criminal scenes, corruption schemes, ink state wretches asking tough questions. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. The presses are running all through the night. We're printing the truth with all of our might. We're platform agnostics, got that interweb too. Buy an ad, see what we can do. We still have subscribers, still have our fans. We're here every day, so give us a chance and we'll make an art stand. Just hold us in your hand and we'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur.